Hello Year 3s and welcome to your RE lesson for this week. Today it's going to be taught by Mrs Alhasso. Before we begin, I hope you're keeping well, we're all missing you, and I hope your families are all okay as well. So today we will be learning and finding out how the Torah began. And why is the Torah so special? Jews have a book that is very important to them. Can you remember what it is called? Call it out after 3. 1, 2, 3. Well done. If you said Torah, you would have been absolutely right. We've got a picture of a gentleman here. It says, do you know who this man is? Why do you think he might be important to Jewish people? Let's have a look at the picture in more detail because it might give us some clues. He's dressed in unusual clothes that look quite old-fashioned, so we know he must have been from a long time ago. He's also holding 2 rather interesting and strange rocks. They've got writing on them. They don't necessarily look like writing that we use today. Let's have a look at the background. He's at the top of a mountain, and there are lots of clouds or strange bits of smoke in the background. Have you got any ideas? Let's carry on and find out who it is. This man is called Moses. Like Abraham, Moses lived thousands of years ago and is an important man for Jews. He is the man who first wrote down the Torah. Now, if you can't remember, the Torah is the book that is very important for the Jews. It is often written in a scroll form. Let's find out about the story of Moses. Moses lived at a time when Jews, who were then known as Israelites, were slaves in Egypt. The Pharaoh made them work hard to build his palaces and pyramids. You can see from this picture that they were used to do really hard, heavy work. Imagine what that must have been like, carrying huge slabs in the searing heat, using only bits of sticks to load them onto your backs. The Egyptians have whips, so they would have whipped these people to make them work harder. God chose Moses to help take the Israelites out of Egypt and lead them to a new land that would be their very own. God promised that it would be a wonderful land that was flowing with milk and honey. Now, although that might seem strange to us now, in the olden days, milk and honey were very precious. You wouldn't have eaten them very often, because you would have had to have goats or your cattle for milk, and honey had to be farmed from bees, which were really tricky to look after. God made 10 terrible plagues came to Egypt. The Pharaoh became very scared and told Moses he could take the Israelites out of Egypt. The word plagues, in case you're not familiar with it, means terrible illnesses or horrible things to happen to your land. Moses and the Israelites grabbed their positions and left Egypt in a hurry. When they had gone, the Pharaoh became very angry. "Why have I let my slaves go?" he asked himself. "Who will do all the hard work for me now?" He decided to go after the Israelites and bring them back. Meanwhile, the Israelites had reached the Red Sea. If you look on a map, you can find where the Red Sea is. Pause the video now and see if you can locate it. Suddenly, they heard the sound of the Egyptian chariots coming after them. "What will we do?" they asked Moses. "We can't get across the sea, and they will catch us." In the background, you can see all of the Egyptians trying to catch up with the slaves who had been freed. God saw that the Israelites were in trouble. He told Moses to lift up his staff. A staff is a long stick that helps you walk or command people. Moses did as God said, and the Red Sea parted to let the Israelites travel across to safety. Imagine what it must have been like, standing there watching the sea part into 2, and you felt the power of God as you walked through along the ocean floor. By the time the Israelites were safely on the other side, the Egyptians were at the side banks of the Red Sea. "We will just cross after them," they said. But God made the sea come crashing down, and they were all washed away. The Israelites were overjoyed and thanked God for saving them. They were free. However, they still had a long journey across the desert to get to the land God had promised them. You can see from this picture the men, women and children all celebrating in joyful triumph. While the Israelites were in the desert, God decided that he needed to teach the Israelites how to live properly. He decided to give them some rules. He called Moses up to the top of Mount Sinai, so Moses set off up the mountain. Moses spent a long time on the mountain listening to God and writing down what he said. When Moses came down, he had 10 rules written down on stone tablets. He told the people about the commandments from God. Now if you stop for a minute, you'll see that that picture was the first picture we looked at. So now we can answer the questions. I'm going to give you a few seconds to answer each question. Who is the man in the picture? That's right, the man is called Moses. What are these 2 strange stone items he's holding? That's right, these are called the stone tablets. You will often hear them called the stone 10 commandments. The rules God gave Moses are known as the 10 commandments. Most Jews also believe that the rest of the Torah was given to Moses on Mount Sinai too. This man says, "Do you know what any of the 10 commandments are?" Let's find out. Before we move on, I want you just to have a look at this picture. This is an example of what the Torah looks like. It's a scroll made of 2 either bits of wood or metal, and joining them are pieces of paper that when you roll them out, they make long scrolls. Here are the 10 commandments. Only worship God. Make God the most important thing in your life. Always say God's name with respect. Make one day a week a special day for God. Respect your parents. Do not murder. Be faithful to your husband or wife. Don't steal. Don't lie. Don't be jealous of what other people have. These are all the 10 commandments that Moses was told by God at the top of Mount Sinai. The 10 commandments are the rules that God wanted the Israelites to obey, and Jews still try to live by these rules today. Here are 2 questions. See if you can pause the video after I've asked them and answer them. Why do you think rules are important? What rules do we have at school? Pause your video now and start them again when you've answered them. What school rules did you think of? In today's activity, you're going to write a list. If you look on your home learning on the school website under RE, you will see a sheet called RE Activity, and it looks like this. If you've got a printer, now would be a great time to print it off. If you don't, just do this piece of work on a sheet of paper. It says Jews believe God gave Moses 10 rules to live by. Here they are, down the side on your left. It says think of 10 rules that you have to obey and write them in the stone tablets. They might be rules you want to come up with for how you should live at home while you're on the lockdown, or they might be 10 rules that you can think of from school. You need to write them in here now. If you're not sure about the school rules, here are the 5 school rules from Hampton Junior School. We've got 5 B rules. These rules help us to have a happy and successful school life. They are: be kind to others, be a good listener, be respectful towards yourself, others and the school environment, be hard-working and challenge yourself, and be responsible. You might want to include some of these rules even if you are writing about the rules for the lockdown. I hope you enjoyed today's activity. When you've finished it, put it somewhere safe. Stick it up on a wall, somewhere in your kitchen or your house or your flat, and show your parents or the person you live with. Until next week, Year 3s, stay safe, we all miss you, and I look forward to doing another little video for you about RE and the Torah next week. Until then, bye, take care.